and I'm just going to start the show off. Thank everybody for joining me on The Business once again. We're the show that connects the music with the business behind the music. I have the special honor of having the world famous DJ Sincere with me today. And I just want to run down some of his accolades. I might not get them all, but I'm sure he'll fill us in. He is actually the host of the Dirty Basement Show. My man is a producer, DJ. He actually, breaks a lot of new records for indie artists. A very big proponent and supporter of the local indie artists around the world, actually. Touching lives all around the world. Represents the Q Borough, right? You're from Queens?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. So I just want to get right into it, man. I wanted to you can give cats a little rundown of your history. I know you got your roots are deep in this game, and just kind of give them a rundown of your history in this game of ours, man.
All right. Well, I started DJing as a kid. I got bit by the bug. I come from a semi-musical family. My mother plays piano. My brother, is a wizard on piano. I took piano for a period of time, and I have other relatives that, play and sang, semi-professionionally. But, along the way, I got bit by the DJ bug, so I kind of put the, piano thing down. But I got to tell you, from a producer standpoint, I regretted that later. All right. I kind of wish I had stayed, with the piano also. But I got bit by the DJ bug. I started begging my parents for equipment, finally got a pair of turntables, and, took off from there. Started practicing in the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kept it going for a couple of years until I got my confidence up. And then I started going out and doing parties.
Yeah, okay. And I'm going to circle back to that too, because it's a whole different world doing podcasting and then doing those parties live. And you get that feedback from the crowd, right instantly. So I wanted to ask you, man, speaking of which, how did you transform yourself from DJing and producing into what you do now with the podcast and breaking new records and everything you do with the indie scene right now?
Well, it was all really like an extension, because when we were DJing, we were making mixtapes, me and my longtime partner, was doing stuff since we were kids, Just True Nelson. We were making mixtapes, we were doing parties and stuff like that. And the way that I always thought of my mixtapes, the way that we always thought of the mixtapes were, we did it in more of almost like a radio style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the hosting aspect was more of a radio style than your traditional, party kind of hosting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
So, somewhere along the line, we got an opportunity to start doing radio. And, we started off on one station that was based out of St. Louis, actually. And we started off with them. And then, they went out of business. But then we came across this other station that really became the first, I don't want to say the first real one, because the other one was very real. But they really became our home, and we stayed. That was Flavor Mixtape Radio.
Okay.
And we stayed with them for about 2 years. We did quite well with them. We were, top 10 in our time slot. Hit number one once or twice, and it carried on. It carried on from there. At one point, we had the syndicated radio show. We had it syndicated out to a number of other shows that radio stations rather that picked up our show. We had it on Hookah Radio. We had it on thebestdamnradio.com. We had it on ProFlow Radio, and quite a few other ones that kind of escape me now. 907jams.com was another one. Quite a few. I got into the artist management thing. I started dealing with the artist that was based in Milwaukee. Actually, a very talented young lady that was based in Milwaukee. And I kind of let the radio thing, as far as the syndication aspect, I let that kind of go for a little bit because I was focusing on that. When I decided to let that go, after that, ran its course, then I still stayed doing the radio. But then we branched off also into other things also. It's like so much to talk about. I'm sorry, but it's like so much to talk about.
Yeah, man, no, I want to hear it all. As a matter of fact, one thing I didn't know, because I was doing the knowledge, doing the research on you, I didn't know that you got off into managing, man. You know, I didn't know that part. So how was that transition? Because that's a, you know, that's a whole nother side of your brain you have to use, right? You're not, you know, it's still music based. Obviously, you have a talented ear, but you know, how did you get off into wanting to do something like that, working with artists like one-on-one and trying to help build their career up?
Well, that goes back actually to the foundation of Dirty Basement Studios, because when we actually started to build the actual studio, when I was, you know, really doing a lot of production, the gentleman that I started the studio with, you know, some of them were artists also, but each person was supposed to have a role to play, and I
Okay.
was supposed to be the creative person. I was supposed to do the, you know, do the music basically, DJ and do the production, and other gentlemen were supposed to fill other roles as far as, you know, the artist management, as far as contract negotiations, as far as scouting artists and things like that. But it just didn't turn out that way. And I ended up being the one that actually was more, you know, active with things, that actually garnered more information, more knowledge with things. And it just kind of sort of, I just ended up wearing more hats. And I actually used to, back before everything got, you know, digital and everything got to be online, I used to print out the forms, you know, for copyright. You know, the forms, and I used to actually have them in the studio. When artists would come by, I would, you know, start preaching to them about get your paperwork proper. You know what I mean?
Get your paperwork right.
Paperwork right. You know, I mean, I had guys and you know, that would come by like, oh man, I'm just gonna mail it to myself, and I'm gonna do like, dude, don't
your
even
poor
do
man copyright.
Don't do it to yourself. They call it the poor man's copyright for a reason. Because every man that does it stays poor.
Poor, You did?
That's why they called it that. You know what I mean? So take a little bit of time. You know, it didn't cost that much money then. It doesn't cost that much money now. Now you can do it a whole lot quicker through online services. You know, get your stuff copywritten, get your registration back, and just have that protection. So I was always singing that song to artists anyway. You know what I mean? And you know, I just ended up being that person, you know, that dealt with the contracts, that did all of that kind of stuff. And I guess it was just like a natural progression.
Okay. Would you ever get back into managing now? Because once you get that, you know, the reason why I say that is I'm asking that as like a side-off question because I myself, you know, had gotten into it over the past year in the managing artists, taking on younger artists, trying to mold them. Paperwork before shine is like my, you know, kind of my slogan, you know.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people, I get a lot of artists saying, oh, I just want to be an artist. I just want to be an artist. But no, in this day and age, you can't just be an artist, right? You have to be able to have your paperwork right, you know, and have rights, knowing where you're coming from, knowing how to, you know, license your music, all that type of stuff. You need to have, if you're not going to do it, you need to have a team, right? So with that being said, would you ever get back into the managing thing, or have you seen too much where you feel like, it ain't my game no more?
You know. I would consider it, but I really don't. I prefer to do things, instead of a manager, I prefer to call myself a consultant. I do consulting.
Okay.
Which is basically the same kind of thing, you know what I mean? Except that, you know, with the consulting aspect, you know, more is going to fall into the lap of the artist. Like, okay, I can give you these ideas, I give you these suggestions, and I can point you in the direction as a consultant, but I'm not necessarily going to do the legwork for you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then on the other side of things, coming from, you know, I guess artists can take this the way they want to, but from a consultant side of things, you get your money a whole lot sooner than a manager gets there.
Yes. Without the red tape,
a whole lot sooner than a manager, you know, will get theirs. And you know, it's a real difficult thing. I mean, the artist I had was very talented. You know, she was out of Milwaukee, but it's a difficult thing dealing with artists and their egos and their expectations and what they think that they know, because you know, I've had.
Oh man, I'm having flashbacks right now, bro.
You know, I mean, I can tell you all about it. I mean, I've had artists tell me, like, okay, well, you're my manager, so you work for me. Like, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
yeah, you're right.
yeah,
I work for
yeah.
you. So
Mm.
being that I work for you, you need to start paying me this salary. Or this, or,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean, if they want
yeah,
to, if they want to take that kind of an attitude about it, you know,
right.
then you have, then you have the artists who almost seems like they're becoming an artist to escape what they really need to do, which is go get a job. You know what I mean?
Mm. Wow,
Because,
that's deep.
because everybody's
Yeah,
not built for it. You know what I'm saying?
no.
Everybody, I mean, not just from an artistic point of view, but just from the mindset and from the grind and from the
Mhm.
hustle point of view,
Yeah,
everybody's not built for it. You know what I
no,
mean?
no.
And
Mm-hmm.
some people, with the onset of the internet, with Fruity Loops, every
Mm-hmm.
in a studio in a box, a studio in their laptop, is made every
Yeah,
it's a double-edged sword. It's made everything
yeah,
more accessible, so it's easier
yeah.
for you, to do what it is that you wanted to do, even from a high
Mm-hmm.
technology standpoint. Because when I
Right,
first started my studio, we didn't have all the technology that's available now. You know what I'm
right,
saying? In it, we didn't have all of it.
right.
You didn't have the laptops with the Reasons, and you didn't have the
Mm-hmm.
Cubase, and you didn't have all of that. So it was
Mm-hmm.
actually hands-on. You were
Right.
actually turning knobs and flipping switches, and actually had
Yeah,
to, edit stuff and do stuff, a bit more manually.
yeah.
And in order to get it to a high level where it sounded good, now you have to go to somebody else's studio, a more
Mm-hmm.
professional place, maybe pay $100 an hour. Those days are gone. You don't
Right.
gotta
Yeah.
you don't gotta do
Right.
none of that no more.
Right.
So it's made it accessible, but at the same time, it's made people who are marginal talents think that they can
Mm-hmm.
really do this. And
Yeah.
it's
You said that just right. I call it popcorn music. Because they could pop it in the microwave. Like you said, it took time. You had to really cook in the studio. If I had to make a comparison, you had, like you said, in those days, you had to really, you had to EQ everything. You had to make sure that, everything was just so. And now, like you said, you got with the Cubase and the Ableton and everything, anybody, and I even see 5-year-old rappers, man. I mean, it's gotten to the point where it's saturated. But like I think the quality, because of people not putting in that extra work, the quality has suffered, And so I
because
totally get
it's
where you're coming from.
yeah, because it's technology over talent, you
Yeah.
know.
Mm.
And the irony is that with all this technology, you would think that the music would be incredible. You would think it would
Mm.
be incredible. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? The sounds, the patterns, the rhythms, the melodies, you would
Mm.
think it would be totally otherworldly, but it's
Right.
not. Some of it is some of the most simple, some of the most empty, some of the most real
Yeah.
spare production
Yeah.
that you know that people go crazy about. And I
Yeah.
challenge anybody, all right, take your favorite song, all right, and
Mm.
just play the instrumental. All right, don't play it with just play the instrumental.
Mm.
And a lot of songs can't live on their own just as an instrumental.
Mm.
You'll see how much the vocals and everything that goes along with the vocals, the chorus, the overdubs, the hooks. You see how
Right.
much that beat needed all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then
Right.
other songs, it could just be an instrumental, and it, what I'm saying, you vibe to it, you feel it.
Yeah. I always wondered, and I wanted to ask you this because obviously you DJ, man. When I listen to the radio, which is rarely, I have to think some of these DJs have to be just a little conflicted, man, because you're playing what's supposed to be hot, right? Like you're playing whatever record's supposed to be hot. But, deep down inside, I know these guys are doing their job, but like you said, because of the emptiness of the music, I just say, it has to be some kind of conflict inside. Like I know you see, and that's why I respect what you do even more, because you've taken upon yourself to create your own vehicle you play the music that you want, you break the artists that you want to break, and so you have a purpose and direction with this, where you get just other guys who are just DJs who are they're just mindlessly spinning records, right? But they're not impacting the culture at all, if that makes any sense, right?
Well,
Where I feel like what you do impacts the culture.
thank you for that. Um,
Yeah.
being on commercial radio and within the constraints of commercial radio, I'm quite sure it's a whole nother beast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just don't have the freedom. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Yeah.
You know, you have a program director, you know what I'm saying? You have somebody that's, you know, instructing you of
Yeah.
what to do and what to play. You might
Yeah.
have a little bit of freedom if you have like an overnight show. You know, if you have an
Yeah.
overnight show coming on like, you know, 2 o'clock, even if it's on a major station, you might have a little bit
Mm.
more freedom then where you could, you know, where you could slip in a record or two. But
Yeah.
you know, but outside of that, nah, it's not really gonna, you know, you're not really gonna be able to do that. And,
Yeah.
you know, you really, you know, for me, you know, being that, you know, when I started DJing, the music, not just the music was different, but just the vibe, the feel, the tempos were different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
of the music now is slow. All right. A lot
Yeah.
of the music now is, you know, 70 BPMs and under. A lot of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? A lot of it. And it's hard to get hyped about a song that's 65 beats a minute. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
It gives a whole it gives the party a whole different kind of a feel.
Right.
It's not that fun up tempo atmosphere anymore. Everybody is kind of draggy and you know just
Yeah.
kind of looking around.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of you know
Yeah.
saying it's just different. You
You
know,
notice the
and
songs are 2 minutes now, right? 2 minutes and some seconds, right? Music a lot shorter now. Songs a
yeah,
lot shorter.
well, I mean, some of them, but like the average record is still 3.5, 4 minutes.
Mm.
But at least from my perspective as a DJ, a lot of the music isn't as fun to DJ as it used to be. Like
Yeah.
records themselves, like man, oh man, I cut that record up. That it was
Yeah.
fun to DJ. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
These certain songs, and you don't
Yeah.
have those kind of songs anymore that say, yeah, I can't wait to do something with that kind of song. You're really just playing it. You know what I'm saying? You're
Right.
playing it, you know, you bring it in smooth, you know what I'm saying, bringing it on the beat or whatever, but
Mm.
it's not the kind of, the music itself doesn't lend itself to that.
Right. Right. I get it. Now, I remember you mentioning earlier that it wasn't that big of a leap as far as going from the DJing and the producing to the podcast and the radio podcasting. Just like for an aspiring person that's getting into the business, what kind of skills do they have to kind of have? I mean, to go from that, like say you got a party DJ who wants to, you know, do what you're doing right now. What kind of skills did it take? I mean, did you feel like, hey, now I gotta have a personality or any type of charisma when it came to, you know what I mean, getting on the radio now? Now you're doing your thing for an hour or whatever. So did you feel like you had to
Well,
do that?
well, in the very beginning, like I had mentioned earlier, I had my partner, Just True Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
He was, or, you know, he was the original voice of Dirty Basement Radio. I
Right.
didn't, and you know, people don't believe this when I tell them this, but I didn't talk. I didn't host. You know,
Mm-hmm.
for the first, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe 10 years until he decided to retire.
Yeah.
And you know, he kind of retired. You know, in a period. You know, it was really kind of a good period for us. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he decided to, you know, to walk away from it. So I was left in a position, you know, from the radio side of things, because I was still doing mixtapes, but from the
Mm-hmm.
radio side of things, you know, I was in a position where, okay, well, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Because I don't talk, but
Yeah.
what am I gonna do? You know what I mean? He's not gonna be the voice anymore. So I'm kind of, you know, it's either I keep going or I quit. And quitting
Right.
wasn't an option for me. You know what I
No,
mean?
no, sir.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, so I had a, you know, I went to the mirror and I had a conversation with myself. You know, I had a meeting in the mirror with myself. That's why I tell
Right.
people, you know,
Yeah.
that's why now Zoom is one thing, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't do meetings. And, you know, people take
Mm-hmm.
this the wrong way, but I don't make my decisions by a committee, you know, is what
Right.
I tell people. I tell
Right.
them most of my meetings are in the mirror, meaning it's just
Mm-hmm.
me. I make the decision and that's it.
Right.
You know, there's
Right.
nobody else. That's it. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's, you know, that's like a big, you know, that's like a big part of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You gotta have confidence. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have confidence. And you just gotta, you know, you really gotta believe you can do it. Have that talk with yourself in the mirror if that's what it takes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If it takes you having to jot down, you know, different kind of things, because that's, you know, that's what I did in the early days. I would write down, you know, things so I knew what I was going to talk about, or I would, if I had an interview coming up, I would write down the questions ahead of time until I got more comfortable. You know what I mean?
Right.
You
Right.
know, so, you know, with certain kind of things, and, you know, then you just have to, you know, you have to decide that, you know, you do have to develop a personality, because you have to realize that
Right.
radio, or, you know, doing like a vlog or anything like that, you have to bring your personality to it. You're not sitting home on the couch talking
Yeah.
to your girl. You know what I'm saying? That
Right.
that's
Yeah.
not what it is.
That's
You know
not
what
the
I'm saying?
vibe.
That's
Yeah.
not the vibe. You gotta
Right.
bring, it has to be entertaining. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It should be informative. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It should have a pace to it. You know, people
Yeah.
shouldn't get bored. You know, they
Yeah.
should, you know what I'm saying? They should look forward to say, oh, let me see what so and so was talking about today. Let me see what, you know, what music they're gonna be playing this week. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, definitely all of that comes into play, but it all starts with the confidence.
Yeah. So, I always felt like the DJ, you guys were, and you know the history of the game, you guys were the first innovators. You guys broke the records, you guys broke the artists, you did all that. But now, as the game is, like the MC is in front, everything's in front of the DJ. You kind of feel like the DJ's role has been diminished some, or do you still feel like you guys are just as important as you were as far as breaking new artists back in the day?
Well, you know, we're just as important, you know, and I
Mm,
think maybe even, you know, maybe even more so, because there's
mm,
so much more to deal with now. So a lot of
mm,
times, if you're an artist, all right, one of the smartest things that you could do is to get DJs behind you, all right, if you want to deal with one of the coalitions and run your music through
mm,
them, because
yeah.
that's how you're going to be able to build your visibility and build your brand awareness, and people become aware of your music.
Right.
Whether it's DJs in the clubs, whether it's online radio, whether it's the playlist game, which is real important now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It all comes down to whether you want to call them a DJ, whether you want to call them a tastemaker, you want to call them a music selector, whatever you want to
Hmm.
call them. It all comes down to that person taking your song and putting it in a collection and putting it out there. All right. On
Right.
their own time, of their own volition, on their own dime, a lot of times. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
this is what they do. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's dope. That's dope. I wanted to know also, you've interviewed or not even interviewed, but we interviewed and worked with, I imagine, thousands of artists. You've heard thousands of demos. People send you music on a daily. Um, are there like characteristics from an artist that you hear artists, you like, okay, the artist gonna blow, or this artist not gonna blow? Like, can you tell that? And then if you can, what characteristics does that artist have? You know what I'm saying?
Well, one thing you might find this funny is the name. You know,
Wow. Okay.
I've seen names, and that if you talk to some artists, you talk to some groups or some bands, and you ask them like the origin of the name, they'll probably tell you a story about how they went through a couple of different changes and names. They used to be known as this, they used to be known as that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've been through a few name changes, you know, in you know, in my career.
Yeah.
And you know, some of the names you'd be like, you know, some of the names I've seen for artists, you'd be like, man, you ain't gonna make this name. It's either, you know, it either it's either
Yeah.
name,
Yeah.
or is too difficult to say, or it's too
Yeah.
difficult to spell, or it's
Yeah.
just, you know, it just doesn't grab you in a certain kind of way. So I think, you know, because that's the first part of your presentation is your name.
Yeah.
So I think that's real important.
Mm.
An artist that understands the importance of the quality of their music. All right.
Mm.
That,
Yeah.
you know, doesn't make that microwave music. An artist
Mm.
that understands that you might have to do a rewrite. All right.
Mm.
The first thing
Yeah.
that you put down might not be the last thing that you say on the song. You understand? That
Right.
might not be the final version. And I think a lot of artists don't get that. You know, they think they
Mm.
write it down one time, or they think that they could just go in the booth like, you know, Biggie or Jay-Z or somebody. And
Mm.
Jay-Z doesn't always sound so good doing it. I've heard Jay-Z songs. I'm like, yeah, he freestyled that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Right. Right.
freestyled. Yeah, he
I've heard
freestyled
some
that.
too. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
You can
mean?
tell. You can
Yeah,
tell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can tell. You
Yeah.
can tell.
Yeah.
So, I've known there's only one artist, and he was a guy that I know personally that was
Mm.
able to freestyle like that, and you you wouldn't think that it was a freestyle. You would think that he wrote it, but that's a very, very, very rare talent.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think artists don't.
I'm still here.
Okay. I don't
Okay.
I don't think artists respect their craft enough. I think that's a
Okay.
big part of the problem. I think that and that goes for DJs too. That goes for
Yeah.
DJs. I don't think they take enough time to actually get good at what it is that they want to do. They're too much of in a rush just to get out in front of the public.
Right. Yeah. No, man, I really appreciate you rocking with me. I got one more question for you, bro. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I wanted to know now that you deep, you got, you knee deep, 10 toes deep into, the DJ and podcasting thing. Now, what do you feel like you got the most passion for at this point? I mean, rocking a party live. What would you prefer to do on a Friday night? Rocking to like 1,200 people at a party live, or do what you're doing right now? What gives you the bigger rush? You know what I
Oh, I'd
mean? You
rather
know
do
what
the
I mean?
party. I'd
Yeah,
rather I'd rather be at the party. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? I recently started working on some new material because I had
Okay.
actually been away from the turntables for more than a year.
Mm,
Just busy with other stuff, some things on the personal side, some family things, trying to get some, things, accomplished. So I
mm,
haven't really been able to focus just on the pure art of DJing, which is
yeah,
what started me on this journey in the first place.
no doubt.
So, so I've had time recently to start getting, back into that,
Mm,
focus back on that. And
mm.
working on a couple of projects, a couple of things that I want to put out. So, be
You
on
want to
a
shout out something? You want to shout out something where people can find you as we go out here?
Oh, definitely. If you want to hit me up, the best way, hit me up on social media, on Twitter or on IG at Dirty Basement. All right, that's Dirty Basement with no vowels.
Mm.
DRTYBSMNT. All right, and
All right,
you could definitely catch me like that.
all right, all right. Man, once again, I appreciate you sincere, man. Like
I
it's
appreciate
it's
you,
an
fam.
honor,
Thank you.
man. It's an honor, no doubt. Keep rocking, man. You know what I'm saying? I know this is just, when people see this, they're gonna like flock to it, and you'll have even more of a listenership than you already have, which is already enormous. You feel me? So this has been The Business with Jay Irv, where we connect the music with the business. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We see you in 2 weeks from now. I'm Jay Irv. I run Charles and Trimble. Thanks for checking out this episode of The Business, our new show every other Wednesday where we dive into the inner workings of the music business, behind the scenes with the music professionals who live it and breathe it every day. Be sure to like and subscribe. And for more content daily, head over to our IG page, Charles and Trimble. Until next time, thanks.